ज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरून् श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सगना रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सगनललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्त राधा कान्त नमोस्तुते। तप्त काञ्चन गौरांगी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्णा कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Just okay. So we were seeing this particular section where Vidura is meeting Uddhava. So Uddhava is a great friend of Lord Krishna, and he was a constant companion of Lord Krishna in the Dwaraka. And now that Krishna has left the planet, so he is also wandering in the land of Vrindavan in the banks of Yamuna. And Vidura, having left home and he is wandering in different places, he has went to so many pilgrimage places and things like that. And finally, he goes to Prabhasa Kshetra and he gets to know that Krishna has already left the planet and all the war and everything is got over. And so at this point in time, so he is also very much affected by this news, and he is going to this banks of Yamuna, and there he is meeting Uddhava. And out of anxiety, he's again asking, no, is Krishna safe, right? No, has anything happened to him and things like that. So it's so many different nice questions that Vidura is actually putting to Uddhava. So some of these things we are actually seeing. So let's continue reading. Kachid बुधस्वस्ति अनमीव आस्ते स्वपल्कपुत्रो भगवत् प्रपन्नः यः कृष्णपादाङ्कितमार्ग पांशुषौ अचेष्टत प्रेम विभिन्न धैर्यः. Please tell me whether Akrura, the son of Swapalka, is doing well. He is a faultless soul surrendered unto the personality of Godhead. He once lost his mental equilibrium due to his ecstasy of transcendental love and fell down on the dust of a road which was marked with the footprints of Lord Krishna. Purport. When Akrura came to Vrindavan in search of Krishna, he saw the footprints of Lord on the dust of Nandagram and at once fell on them in ecstasy of transcendental love. This ecstasy is possible for a devotee who is fully absorbed in incessant thoughts of Krishna. Such a pure devotee of Lord is naturally faultless because he is always associated with the supremely pure personality of Godhead. Constant thought of the Lord is the antiseptic method for keeping oneself free from the infectious contamination of material qualities. So it's a very nice point that has been mentioned here. Vidura is asking about different associates of Krishna. Are they all safe and are they all happy and things like that? So in that way, he's indirectly inquiring about Krishna in all possible ways. And here, why Akrura is called as faultless, that explanation is given. When Akrura wanted to take Krishna from Vrindavan to Mathura, so actually Kamsa had deputed Akrura to bring Krishna from Vrindavan. And Akrura, when he went there, so he saw the feet impressions in the sand of the area of Vrindavan, the Nandagram. And the moment he saw that, the first initial sight or symbol of the Lord, immediately he was overcome by ecstasy and he was rolling in the dust of the Vrindavan. So this is a really amazing, characteristic of a devotee. And then he was constantly wrapped in attention, wrapped in thoughts of the Supreme Lord. And that is why he is called as faultless, right? So here Prabhupada makes a very, very prophetic statement. He says that constant thought of the Lord is the antiseptic method for keeping oneself free from infectious contamination of material qualities. So the thought of the Lord, the remembrance of the Lord is really, that can save us from loads and loads and loads of material karma or material miseries and things like that. And on top of it, that is our ultimate duty. That is our ultimate destination, to be always be in the thoughts of the Lord, right? So this we can kind of remember while we are chanting the names of the Lord. So when we sit down for japa, we can actually remember this thing. Constant thought of the Lord is the antiseptic method for keeping oneself free from infectious contamination of material qualities. Right? The pure devotee of the Lord is always in company with the Lord by thinking of Him, yet in the particular context of time and place, the transcendental emotions take a different turn, and this breaks the mental equilibrium of the devotee. Lord Chaitanya displayed the typical example of transcendental ecstasy as we can understand from the life of the incarnation of God. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu often, he used to be overcome by the emotion of or by the thought of the Lord, and then he used to so much be immersed in the emotions of the devotional ecstasies. Okay. Hare Krishna. I think somebody's just a minute. Okay. Kachit Bhojaputra Vishnu Parajaya Iva Deva Matu Yavai Swagarvena Dadara Devam Trahiyata. Vedas are the reservoir of sacrificial purposes. So the daughter of King Devaka Bhoja conceived the Supreme Personality of Godhead in her womb, as did the mother of the demigods. Is she Devaki doing well? Right? So why is mentioned mother of the demigods? Like the Aditi, she also bore the Supreme Lord Vishnu in her womb. So that is the Vamana Dev. So in the same way, Devaki, she also got the opportunity to carry the Supreme Lord as her child. Right? So here, this is the way of inquiry. If we like a particular person, then we inquire about all those who are connected to that person. So that is how the inquiries are made here. Purport: the Vedas are full of transcendental knowledge and spiritual values, and thus Devaki, the mother of Lord Krishna, conceived Lord in her womb as the personified meaning of the Vedas. There are no difference between the Vedas and the Lord. So in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna mentions Vedescha Sarve Ahameva Vedya Vedanta Vid, Vedanta Krit Vedavid Eva Chaham. Right, so he mentions that no, I am the knower of the Vedas, I am the author of the Vedas, I am the goal of the Vedas. So he mentions all these things in Bhagavad Gita, right? So there is no difference between the Lord and the Vedic knowledge. Entirety of Vedic knowledge put together is the Lord. The Vedas aim at the understanding of the Lord, and the Lord is the Vedas personified. Devaki is compared to the meaningful Vedas, and the Lord is Lord to their purpose personified. So there's a nice poetic way of putting it over here. Text 34. Apisvidaste Bhagavan Sukambho Yasatvatam Kamadugo Niruddha Yam Amananti Sma Hi Shabda Yonim Manomayam Satvaturiya Tattvam. May I inquire whether Aniruddha is doing well? He is the fulfiller of all the desires of the pure devotees and has been considered from yore to be the cause of the Rig Vedas and creator of the mind and the fourth plenary expansion of Vishnu. So this Aniruddha is as we always say that, Vasudev, Sankarsana, Aniruddha and Pradyumna. So he is one of the Vishnu Tattvas, one of the here it is Chaturvyuha, it is mentioned Chaturvyuha expansions. So like Vasudeva, Sankarshan, Pradyumna and Aniruddha. So these kind of expansions are called Chaturvyuha expansions. And these Chaturvyuha expansions come from Balaram, right? So that is how it actually comes. The purport: Adi Chaturbhuja, the original expansion from Baladev, are Vasudev, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha. All of them are Vishnu Tattvas, or non-different personalities of Godhead. In the incarnation of Sri Rama, all these different expansions appear for particular pastimes. The Lord Rama is the original Vasudeva, and his brother were Sankarshana, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha. So we know Sankarshana is the Lakshmana, and then Pradyumna and Aniruddha were Krishna. Okay. So, and then Aniruddha is also the cause of Mahavishnu, from whose breathing the Rig Vedas appeared. All this is nicely explained in Markandeya Purana. In the incarnation of Lord Krishna, Aniruddha appeared as the son of the Lord. Lord Krishna in Dwaraka is Vasudev, expansion of the original group. The original Lord Krishna never leaves Goloka Vrindavan. So that means Lord Krishna in his original Swarupa, so Padam Ekam Nagachanti. So Vrindavanam Parityaja Padam Ekam Nagachanti. So that means the original Lord Krishna, so he never leaves Vrindavan at any point in time. So it is only the Vasudeva expansion of the Lord. He goes out and then he conducts all the pastimes that are there outside the Vrindavan. Right? So here it is the original Lord Krishna never leaves Goloka Vrindavan. All the plenary expansions are one and the same Vishnu Tattva, and there is no difference in their potency. So we have many times discussed this aspect. So the different incarnations of the Lord, different expansions of the Lord, they are non-different from the Lord. So, but then, the Lord with his emotions as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as the ultimate form, Krishna, that he is to be found only in the Vrindavan. So when he comes out, he just changes his color. He just changes his color means he just changes his qualities, and then he is a different kind of a personality outside. That is why when the Vrindavan Vasis, so when they met Lord Krishna during the solar eclipse at the place of the holy place of Kurukshetra, so they were not satisfied because Krishna was dressed up like a king. He was not the same person as they had seen in Vrindavan. So they started they put Krishna, Balaram, and Subhadra on a chariot, and then they started pulling the chariot. And that went on to bring about this festival of Ratha Yatra, right? So they wanted to have Krishna in Vrindavan, not in the Mathura, so not in the Dwaraka Vesh. Dwarakadish is a completely different personality. So the Lord, the very same Lord, but his reciprocation and his dealings and everything is different. So the original Krishna, who is who's the Supreme Lord in his home atmosphere, is only in Vrindavan. So in all other places, he's on his job, but he's trying to do something, to establish dharma or to protect somebody or doing some other task. He's not his original personality, what he will be back at home, right? So all of us back at home in our own space, we are a different person altogether. And then when we go to work and when we are meeting with some strangers and things like that, so we deal with in different ways. So here, Krishna is really at home only in Vrindavan, right? Text 35. Apisvidanye cha nijatma daivam ananya vritya samanuvrathaye hridika satyatma jacharu deshna Gada Daya Swasti Charanti Saumya. O sober one, others such as Hridika, Charudeshna, Gada, and the son of Satyabhama, who accept Lord Krishna as the soul of the self and thus follow his path without deviation, are they well? Apisvador Bhyam Vijaya च्युताभ्याम धर्मेण धर्म परिपाति सेतुम दुर्योधनो तपयत यत सभायाम साम्राज्यलक्ष्म्या विजयानुवृत्त्या. Also, let me inquire whether Maharaj Yudhishthira is now maintaining the kingdom according to the religious principles and with respect for the path of religion. Formerly, Duryodhana was burning with envy because Yudhishthira was being protected by the arms of Krishna and Arjuna as if they were his own arms. Purport: Maharaj Yudhishthira was the emblem of religion. When he was ruling his kingdom with the help of Lord Krishna and Arjuna, the opulence of his kingdom surpassed all imaginations of the opulence of the kingdom of heaven. His actual arms were Lord Krishna and Arjuna, and thus he surpassed everyone's opulence. Duryodhana, being envious of this opulence, planned so many schemes to put Yudhishthira into difficulty, but at last the battle of Kurukshetra was brought about. After the battle of Kurukshetra, Maharaj Yudhishthira was again able to rule his legitimate kingdom, and he reinstated the principles of honor and respect for religion. That is the beauty of a kingdom ruled by a pious king like Maharaj Yudhishthira. Kimba Krita Geshva Aham Atya Marshi Bhimo Hivad Dirga Thamam Vyamunchat Yashangripatam Ranabur Nasehe Margam Gadayas Charato Vichitram. Please tell me whether the unconquerable Bhima, who is like a cobra, has released his long cherished anger upon his sinners. The field of battle could not tolerate even the wonderful playing of his club when he stepped on the path. Purport: Vidura knew the strength of Bhima. Whenever Bhima was on the battlefield, he steps on the path, and the wonderful playing of his club were unbearable for the enemy. Powerful Bhima did not take steps against the sons of Dhritarashtra for a long time. Vidura's inquiry was whether he had yet released his anger, which was like that of a suffering cobra. When a cobra releases its venom after long cherished anger, its victim cannot survive. Text 38. Kachid Yashoda Rata Yutapanam Panam Gandiva Danvo Ratharir Aste Alakshito Yachakra Kuta Gudo Maya Kirato Girishas Tutosha. Please tell me whether Arjuna, whose bows bear the name Gandiva and who is always famous amongst the chariot warriors for vanquishing his enemies, is doing well. He at once satisfied Lord Shiva by covering him with arrows when Shiva came as an unidentified false hunter. Purport: Lord Shiva tested Arjuna's strength by picking a quarrel with him over a hunted boar. He confronted Arjuna in the false dress of a hunter, and Arjuna covered him with arrows until Lord Shiva was satisfied with Arjuna's fighting. He offered Arjuna the Pashupati Pashupati weapon and blessed him. Here Vidura inquired about the great warrior's well-being. Yama Utasvit Kaniyo Pritaya Parthe Vitau Pakshamabir Akshiniva Remat Uddaya Mride Swariktam Parat Suparnav Iva Vajri Vaktrat. Are the twin brothers who are protected by their brothers doing well? Just as the eye is always protected by the eyelid, they are protected by the sons of Pruta, who snatched back their rightful kingdom from the hands of their enemy Duryodhana, just as Garuda snatched nectar from the mouth of Indra, the thunderbolt carrier. So here twin brother is so the sons of Pruta, like or Kunti, are Yudhishthir, Bhima and Arjuna, and then the other two were the sons of I think Madri, right? So like Nakula and Sahadev. So that way we can see that the Nakula and Sahadev were always protected by the elder brothers. So they were very, very powerful. Purport: Indra, the king of heaven, carries a thunderbolt in his hand and is very strong. Yet Garuda, the carrier of Lord Vishnu, was able to snatch nectar from his mouth. Similarly, Duryodhana was as strong as the king of heaven, and still the sons of Pruta, the Pandavas, were able to snatch away their kingdom from Duryodhana. Both Garuda and the Parthas are pet devotees of the Lord, and thus it was possible for them to face such strong enemies. Vidura's inquiry was about the youngest brothers of the Pandavas, namely Nakula and Sahadeva. These twin brothers were sons of Madri, the stepmother of the other Pandavas. But although they were stepbrothers, because Kunti took charge of them after the departure of Madri with her husband Maharaj Pandu. So that means when like Maharaj Pandu was like when he died, so Madri took Sati and she also burnt herself in the funeral pyre. So after that, Kunti, she took care of the sons of Madri as well, right? So Nakula and Sahadev were as good as the other three Pandavas, namely Yudhishthira, Bhima, and Arjuna. The five brothers are known in the world as regular brothers. The three elder Pandavas took care of the younger brothers just as the eyelids take care of the eye. Vidura was anxious to know whether, after winning back their own kingdoms from the hands of Duryodhana, the younger brothers were still living happily under the care of the elder brothers. Text 40. Ato pratapi indriyather karthe rajarshivaryena vinapitena yastveka viro dirato vijighe dhanur vitiya kakubas chaktarshaha. O my lord, is Pritha still living? She lived only for the sake of her fatherless children. Otherwise, it was impossible for her to live without King Pandu, who was the greatest commander and who alone conquered the four directions, simply with the help of a second bow. Okay. Purport: a faithful wife cannot live without her lord, the husband, and therefore all widows used to voluntarily embrace the burning fire which consumed the dead husband. This system was very common in India because all the wives were chaste and faithful to their husbands. Later on, with the advent of the age of Kali, the wives gradually began to be less adherent to their husbands, and the voluntary embrace of the fire by the widows became a thing of the past. Very recently, the system was abolished since the voluntary system had become a forcible social custom. When Maharaj Pandu died, both his wives, namely Kunti and Madri, were prepared to embrace the fire, but Madri requested Kunti to live for the sake of the younger children, the five Pandavas, the five Pandavas. This was agreed upon by Kunti, and at the added request of Vyasadev, in spite of her great bereavement, Kunti decided to live, not to enjoy life in the absence of her husband, but only to give protection to the children. This incident is referred to here by Vidura because he knew all the facts about his sister-in-law Kunti Devi. It is understood that Maharaj Pandu was a great warrior and that he alone, with the help of a bow and arrow, could conquer the world's four directions. In the absence of such a husband, it was almost impossible for Kunti to live on even as a widow, but she had to do it for the sake of the five children. Text 41. Saumyanusochetam adapatantam bratre parethaya vidudur heyaha nirjapito yena suhrit swapunya purya aham swaputran kamanu pratena. Okay. O gentle one, I simply lament for him, Dhritarashtra, who rebelled against his brother after death. By him, I was driven out of my own house, although I am his sincere well-wisher, because he accepted the line of action adopted by his own sons. Purport: Vidura did not ask about the welfare of his elder brother because there was no chance of his well-being, only news of his gliding down to hell. Right? So it's like, he was so sinful, or he was supporting the sinful actions of his sons. So then there is no way of any welfare for him. Right? So there is only that he is going to glide down to hell. Vidura was a sincere well-wisher of Dhritarashtra, and he had thought about him in the corner of his heart. He lamented that Dhritarashtra could rebel against the sons of his dead brother Pandu, and that he could drive him, Vidura, out of his own home on the dictation of his crooked sons. In spite of these actions, Vidura never became an enemy of Dhritarashtra, but continued to be his well-wisher. And at the last stage of Dhritarashtra's life, it was Vidura only who proved to be his real friend. Such is the behavior of a Vaishnava like Vidura. He desired all good even for his enemies. This is like covered in the first canto of Bhagavatam. Dhritarashtra quits home. So in that chapter we had discussed very elaborately how Vidura actually comes back. After he renounces, like he just comes back to the palace. He just stays for one day or very, very short period. He instructs Dhritarashtra very, very heavily that now all your sons are passed away, and like, what are you doing here still sticking on to the home? So just get out of this place. He just gives very, very strong instructions. And then like Dhritarashtra, like in the night, without telling to anybody, Dhritarashtra, Gandhari, they, both of them, they go to Himalayas. So they perform their severe tapasya and then leave their body. So in that way, like Vidura, he was, though Dhritarashtra insulted Vidura in so many ways, but then means insulted means when Duryodhana told you get lost, so he did not protest that. So he did not say like, no, why are you saying to your seniors like this? You should not behave like this with your people of your father's cadre, your uncle. So you cannot speak like that. So he could have told that, but then he kept silent. And then now we see like Vidura was insulted in such way, but still Vidura, being a great devotee of the Lord, he never considered anybody enemy, and in fact, he went on to be, create a very, very good fortune for his brother who did all wrong only, right? Text 42. Soham harer martya vidambanena drisho nrinam chalayato vidatuhu nam nanyo palakshaha padavim prasadaj charami pasyan gata vishmayotra. I am not astonished at this, having traveled over the world without being seen by others. The activities of the personality of Godhead, which are like those of a man in the mortal world, are bewildering to others. But I guess, but I know of His greatness by His grace, and thus I am happy in all respects. Purport. Although he was the brother of Dhritarashtra, Vidura was completely indifferent. By the grace of Lord Krishna, he was not foolish like his brother, and thus his brother's association could not influence him. So here brother means it's talking about Dhritarashtra. So Dhritarashtra was completely foolish. He wanted his sons and his kingdom and everything, like mama mameti. He was in that kind of a consciousness. But here we see Vidura. He is by the grace of the Lord. He is not having that kind of material association, material connections, or like material attachments. And because of that, he's only attached to those people who are connected to Krishna. He's not attached to people who are connected to who are too much attached to the material world, right? So Dhritarashtra and his materialistic sons wanted to falsely lord it over the world by dint of their own strength. The Lord encountered them in this, and thus they became more and more bewildered. But Vidura wanted to achieve sincere devotional service of the Lord, and therefore become a soul absolutely surrendered to the absolute personality of Godhead. He could realize this in the progress of his pilgrim's journey. And thus he was freed from all doubts. He was not at all sorry to be bereft of his earth and home, because he now had experienced that dependence on the mercy of the Lord is the greatest freedom than so-called freedom at home. It's an amazing statement, actually. Dependence on the Lord is the actual greatest freedom. Sometimes People say that, oh, no, you ISKCON people have so many rules and regulations. No, like it seems like all our freedom is taken off. No, there is no freedom at all. So actually speaking, people of this world are completely under the control of three modes of nature. And no, if we prescribe the method to come out of the three modes of nature, they'll be like, no, completely controlled by the three modes of nature. They don't have any independence. So the modes of nature dictate and they do. That's all. And so many times people come and ask that, no, there was some situation and then I could have kept quiet, but then I reacted in such a way that my life is spoiled now. So why did they react like that? Because they are under the control of three modes of nature. No single entity in this world is free in the sense like it's completely enjoying the freedom. So everybody is controlled. So, but if we go towards the Lord, if we actually control ourselves, from the influence of material nature, it may appear like our freedom is snatched away. But these following these rules and regulations, getting up early in the morning, chanting our rounds, reading the scriptures, and all these things, it is not a punishment, or it is not some kind of a stricture that has been put on us. It is actually a blissful process. It is actually a process of freedom. Surrendering unto the Lord is actual freedom. No, so it is very nicely put here, right? So he was not at all sorry to be bereft of his earth and home, because he now had experienced that dependence on the mercy of the Lord is the greatest freedom than so-called freedom at home. A person should not be in the renounced order of life unless he is firmly convinced of the protection of being protected by the Lord. This stage of life is explained in Bhagavad Gita as Abhayam Sattva Samshuddhihi. Every living entity is factually completely dependent on the mercy of the Lord. But unless one is pure, one is in the pure state of existence, he cannot be established in this position. This stage of dependence is called Shuddha Sattva Samshuddhihi, or purification of one's existence. Now, purification means Krishna consciousness. Impure means like sense gratification. So the more we have desire for sense gratification, with that, the concomitant, or with that, the additional things that will be there as part and parcel are the miseries of the world, anxiety, security, anxiety about the security of life, what will happen, what will not happen, and all these things. This is all result of the desire for sense gratification. And if we have the desire for service of the Lord, so then immediately there is a deep within us, we will feel a great amount of freedom. We will feel that we have been relieved from the pressures of this material world, and we are not afraid of anything. So that is the aspect of Sattva Samshuddhihi. So once the heart is being purified, that means the heart is always able to remember the Lord. The consciousness is always able to remember the Lord. So then that is called Samshuddhihi, complete purification of existence. The result of such purification is exhibited in fearlessness. Such a person will be completely fearless. So more one is purified, more one is fearless, right? So we have this definition of fear. Bhayam dvitiyad abhiniveshatashyat. So that means the moment I am not able to see Krishna in every aspect and every sphere of the life, then I must succumb to fear. So that is the fear. One cannot be fearless if he is not fully Krishna conscious. A devotee of the Lord who is called Narayana Para is never afraid of anything, because he is always aware of the fact that the Lord protects him in all circumstances. With this conviction, Vidura traveled alone, and he was not seen or recognized by any friend or foe. Thus he enjoyed freedom of life without obligation to many duties of the world. When Lord Sri Krishna was personally present in the mortal world, in his eternal blissful form of Shyama Sundara, those who were not pure devotees of Lord could not recognize him or know his glories. Avajananti mam muda manusim tanum ashritam. He is always bewildering to the non-devotees, but he is always seen by the devotees by the dint of pure devotional service unto him. Right? So this is how the Lord is not. He reserves Naham Prakasha Sarvasya Yogamaya Samavritah. So, he reserves the right to be exposed. And for non-devotees, even though he personally comes here, like the non-devotees cannot appreciate his presence. But the devotees of the Lord, even if the Lord is not present directly, or no, Lord is not, they are not taking darshan of the Lord as people took darshan when he was present 5,000 years before. Even if they just get exposed to the names of the Lord, so that is sufficient enough. They used to get, they will get intense attention and intense absorption in such a thought, right? So that's actually Krishna conscious. Nunam Nripanam Tri Madopapat Mado Madotpathanam Mahim Muhuschalayatham Chamubihi Vadat Prapannarti Jihirshayesho Appupai Kshathagam Bhagavan Kurunam. Being his, despite his being the Lord and being always willing to relieve the distress of sufferers, he, Krishna, refrained from killing the Kurus, although they committed all sorts of sins, and although he saw other kings constantly agitating the earth by their strong military movements, carried out under the dictation of three kinds of false pride. So, although Krishna appeared for reducing the unnecessary burden on the earth, all the impious kings have to be killed. So, but then even though they were doing a lot of atrocious activities, so Krishna was not killing them, and they were they were constantly agitating the earth, right, by their strong military movements inflicted by their false pride. So all of them were put together in Kurukshetra. Everybody were finished. Right? So before that, so they were just out of pride. They were just doing so many different atrocities. Purport: as declared in Bhagavad Gita, the Lord appears in the mortal world to execute his much-needed mission of killing the miscreants and giving protection to the suffering faithful. In spite of that mission, Lord Krishna tolerated the insult of Draupadi by the Kurus and the injustice perpetrated against the Pandavas, as well as the insults to himself. The question may be raised, why did he tolerate such injustice and insult in his presence? Why he did not chastise the Kurus immediately? When Draupadi was insulted in the assembly of Kurus by their attempt to see her naked in the presence of all, the Lord protected Draupadi by supplying an unlimited length of clothing. But he did not chastise the insulting party immediately. This silence of the Lord did not mean, however, that he excused the offense of the Kurus. There were many other kings on the earth who became very proud of three kinds of possessions, that is wealth, education, and followers. So these are all like Janma Ishwarya Shuta Shribir Edamana Madapuman. So it is these are all some of the opulences, wealth, education, and followers. So these things are opulences which can actually put us in pride and ignorance. Pride comes, immediately ignorance comes. And they were constantly agitating the earth by movements of military strength. The Lord was just waiting to get them together on the battlefield of Kurukshetra and kill them all at one time, just to make a shortcut in his killing mission. Godless kings or heads of state were, when puffed up by the advancement of material wealth, education, and increase of population, always make a show of military strength and give trouble to the innocent. When Lord Krishna was personally present, there were many such kings all over the world, and he thus arranged for the battle of Kurukshetra. In his manifestation of Vishwarupa, the Lord expressed his mission of killing as follows: I have willingly descended on the earth in my capacity of inexhaustible time in order to decrease the unwanted population. Kalosmi aham loka kshayakrit pravruda. He says, I shall finish all those who have assembled here except you, the Pandavas. This killing does not wait for you to take part in it. It is already arranged. All will be killed by me. If you want to become famous as the hero of battlefield and thus enjoy the booty of war, then O Savyasachi, just become the immediate cause of this killing and thus take the credit. Nimitta matra bhava savyasashin, like that he says. I have already killed all the great warriors, Bhishma, Drona, Jayadratha, Karna, and many other great generals. Do not worry. Fight the battle and be famous as great hero. So this is the kind of summary of this Bhagavad Gita 11:32 to 34. Right? So the Lord always wants to see his devotees as hero of some episode which he himself performs. He wanted to see his devotee and friend Arjuna as the hero of the battlefield, Battle of Kurukshetra. And thus he waited for all the miscreants of the world to assemble. That and nothing else is the explanation of his waiting. Okay. Nice. Text 44. Ajasya janmot pata nasha naya karmani akartur grahanaya pumsam navanyatha kor rati deha yogam paro gunanam utakarma tantram. The appearance of the Lord is manifested for the annihilation of the upstarts. His activities are transcendental and are enacted for the understanding of all persons. Otherwise, since the Lord is transcendental to all material modes, what purpose could he serve by coming to earth? Right? So the Lord is natashakaryam karanam chavidyate. So he doesn't have any prescribed duty to be performed. So, but then he comes here just to benefit the people in general. No, that is the main cause. So for his devotees, no, he gives his association, and for the non-devotees, no, he gives an opportunity to get into devotional service. Right? Purport: Ishvaraha paramaha Krishnaha Sachidananda Vigraha. So Brahma Samhita 5.1. The form of the Lord is eternal, blissful, and all satisfying. His so-called birth is therefore an appearance only, like the birth of the sun on the horizon. His birth does not, like that of the living entities, take place under the influence of material nature and the bondage of reactions of past deeds. His works and activities are independent pastimes and are not subjected to the reactions of material nature. In Bhagavad Gita, it is said, Namam karmani limpanti. No, there is no karma, that is, there is no activity that is prescribed to me. Name phalas priha. Name karma phalas priha. So, like, you know, I also don't have anything to enjoy. Like, I don't, like, look for any karma phala. Iti mam yo iti mam yo bijanati karma bir na sab vadyate. So one who knows that the Lord doesn't have any prescribed work to do, and then sometimes people say, like, accuse the Lord, hey, like, no, you're supposed to supply this thing, you are supposed to protect, you are supposed to do this, you are supposed to do that. No work is prescribed for the Lord. No, he's completely free of any designations. He's completely free of any obligations, right? And he doesn't go behind any karma phala. So once we know this thing as about the Lord, so then like iti mam, so iti, in this way, like about me, yo abhijanati, like no one who understands me in this way, karma vir na sa badhyate. So no, banda nahi jata hai, karma se banda nahi jata hai, aisa vyakti. So like that it is mentioned. So the law of karma enacted by the Supreme Lord for the living entities cannot be applicable to him, nor has the Lord any desire to improve himself by activities like those of ordinary living beings. Ordinary living beings work for the improvement of their conditional lives, but the Lord is already full of all opulence, all strength, all fame, all beauty, all knowledge, and all renunciation. Why should he desire improvement? No one can excel him in any opulence, and therefore the desire for improvement is absolutely useless for him. One should always discriminate between the activities of the Lord and those of the ordinary living beings. Thus, one may come to the right conclusion regarding the Lord's transcendental position. One who can come to the conclusion of the Lord's transcendence can become a devotee of the Lord and can at once be freed from all reactions of the past deeds. Karmani nirdahati kintu cha bhakti bhajam. The Lord minimizes or nullifies the reactionary influence of the devotee's past deeds. Right? So the activities of the Lord are to be accepted and relished by all living entities. His activities are to attract the ordinary man towards the Lord. The Lord always acts in favor of the devotees and therefore ordinary men who are fruitive actors or seekers of salvation may be attracted to the Lord when he acts as protector of the devotees. The fruitive actors can attain their goals by devotional service, and the salvationists can also attain their goal goal in life by devotional service to the Lord. The devotees do not want fruitive results of their work, nor do they want any kind of salvation. They relish the glorious superhuman activities of the Lord, such as his lifting the Govardhan hill and killing the demon Putana in infancy. Right? So this is a very nice thing that has been put. By worship of Lord, if you want some material benefit, you will get. If you want moksha, you will get. If you want some powers, you will get. But then a devotee of the Lord, no, he is not interested in all these things. He just simply wants to relish the Lord's pastimes of lifting the Govardhan hill. No, he just simply want to relish the pastimes of the Lord, killing no demons like Putana, Trinavarta, and no Arishtasur, and no things like that. So a devotee of the Lord, he just simply wants to always remember the Lord and relish that thing. So he is not asking for any change of situation or change of save me from this problem and things like that. He's just simply relishing the activities of the Lord. His activities are enacted to attract all kinds of men, karmis, jnanis, and bhaktas. Because he is transcendental to all laws of karma, there is no possibility of his accepting a form of Maya and is forced on the ordinary, ordinary living entities who are bound by the actions and reactions of their own deeds. So Lord is not, taking birth because of his actions and reactions. No, Lord is not bound by any karma. The secondary purpose of his appearance is to annihilate the upstart asuras and to stop the nonsense of atheistic propaganda by less intelligent persons. By the Lord's causeless mercy, the asuras who are killed personally by the personality of Godhead get salvation. No, they get mukti. No, all the jnanis, no, all the yogis, no, they are aiming at mukti. No, they want to get mukti. And here, the Lord is giving that destination to the demons, no, who are killed by him. So then, if that is the case, why will the devotees be aiming at mukti? So it is something that is offered to even the demons, who has been killed by Krishna. So devotees don't want just mukti; they want association of the Lord, and they want to be servants of the Lord. No, they just don't want to merge in the Brahma Jyoti. The meaningful appearance of the Lord is always distinct from ordinary birth. Even the pure devotees have no connection with the material body, and certainly the Lord who appears as he is in his Sachidananda form is not limited by a material form. Right? So we will stop here today's discussion. I hope all of you are taking advantage of the evening, daily evening, our Purushottam month events, and it is just to facilitate this particular thing. So we have taken a lot of trouble in organizing and scheduling different people every evening. So kindly take advantage of this, and then take part in this Purushottam month event. Right. So here we see there is a question. King Vidura, on acquiring the position of Mahamantri, had objected very strongly for not crowning Dhritarashtra as the king, as he was blind, by expressing his duties for this position as mentioned in the scriptures. His point was approved and executed. Why did he fail to use his same position and execute his duties as mentioned in the scriptures when injustice was being done by Dhritarashtra and his sons in various situations? So he actually protested. He actually did protest all these things. But then now Duryodhana and Dhritarashtra as the king, he's more supporting his sons, and then he doesn't want to execute. So Vidura can tell, but he cannot execute. There needs to be somebody who will execute. That is good advice that has been given. So here, both Dhritarashtra and the Duryodhana and the party, nobody would listen to him, properly. So that is the problem. Right. So thank you all very much for joining. So we will conclude today's session here, and we will meet up again tomorrow. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.